Raw Legends night. What an ending. Oh, we're going to have fun tonight. It is the first Raw of 2021, which also means this is the first Breakfast Soup Raw of 2021. I welcome all of you. Happy New Year. Happy holidays. I am Don Tony. Join along with me is...
Anthony Missionary Thomas. What's going on, everyone? Happy 2021. Hopefully, tonight's Raw is not the highlight of your year.
Oh, man. I wanted to like it. I really wanted to like it.
Of course not. It's a fun gimmick. I mean, whenever anybody thinks of a Legends Raw, you're thinking, okay, I'm going to see a bunch of guys I haven't seen before. There should be some fun interactions with people that they don't interact with. There was none of that fun. None of that fun.
Happy New Year to Prince Albert's. Forgot to wish him a Happy New Year the other day. He wanted me to relay it to you as well. So much love, my friend. Tuning in right now in Guam. Pretty cool. By the way, shout out to everybody who is live right now. And if you enjoyed tonight's podcast, as I say, as always, smash that like button. Tell the haters that, you enjoy the show. And tell you, what a great New Year's Eve. Had a wonderful time hanging out with all of you. We will do something on Thursday. Now, very quickly, for those that are taking part in the contest from Friday, okay, one request. If you go on Friday's thread, because for those that didn't tune in Friday, I've decided to give this baby away. This is real. This is not any plastic thing. It's about, 10 pounds? What do they say, 10 pounds of gold or whatever? And you got some other choices if you're not an AEW fan. But I will tell everybody out there right now, I thank you all for your ideas. If you want to add more, please do. Because one thing I will tell you is that I definitely have come to the conclusion I do not want Don Tony in the title name. I don't want DT in the title name. This way, if I have Mish on, we have someone else from time to time. It doesn't have to be just a solo show, or I don't want my name to be the focus of it. So, somebody told me the other day something goofy, and I came up with curse words and cannolis, but, it just doesn't sound like it flows all that well. So, I'm just letting everybody know because almost everybody's ideas had DT in it. I want this show to be for everyone. So, even hosts. But, Mish, a tale of 2 weeks with Randy Orton. It was, let me get my date correct. I think it was December 21st. Yes, December 21st.
Yes.
Randy Orton says on Raw, the voices in my head are gone because the idea of the Fiend burning, the voice in his head are gone. 2 weeks later, he's telling us that last week, the voices were telling him to burn Alexa Bliss. So December 21st, the voices were gone. December 28th, the voices were back. And as I warned all of you last week, you weren't getting a Nitro. We're out of time. Tune in next week. Cliffhangers. No. Tell me where WWE's done that in recent years. When you had a Legends show tonight, you look at all of the Legends episodes they've done in the last 10, 12 years. What do you have in the back? You have random people hanging out with each other talking. They're on TV for 30 seconds. That's what we got tonight. I don't know why people thought, up until the end, I should say. But I guess we could get right into the end.
Yeah, can we just even hint on the end how horrible that was? To just see all these people sitting around like they're playing like a senile game of Duck, Duck, Goose. Why were they all just sitting on chairs watching the match from the top of the ramp? We were even joking, okay, for people that don't know, we usually hang out in Discord while Raw is going on. We just shoot the shit with people. And everybody in the chat room was saying, why isn't this more like a lumberjack match where you have all the legends around the ring? Something interactive. Even if they're just standing outside the ring, it's a hell of a lot more visual than them sitting at the top of the ramp waiting for nothing. Literally waiting for nothing. It was awful. I can't believe that was the best that they could come up with for legends. I don't know. And can I question some of these legends too? What's Alicia Fox the legend of? Can somebody explain that to me? I'm a little slow here. So.
Yeah, I know. Can I ask you a question? Because Austin brings this up.
All right.
It wasn't just it was Austin. No, it was all of us. It was all of us, Austin, all along. We all said this tonight. I mean, I remember Torrie Wilson and bra and panties matches. I remember Torrie Wilson and Stacy Keibler. And Stacy Keibler used to be all the way up here. I remember Torrie Wilson making out with Dawn Marie. I remember Torrie Wilson with Billy Kidman. Either Torrie Wilson wore 9-inch heels in the back tonight, or Nikki Cross maybe was using that knee, bicycle that Mark Henry had. Why was Torrie Wilson? This is what it looked like. Seriously, I'm trying. Oh, do I have a little bottle of something? I don't think I do have a little bottle of something, but it's almost like I don't have any good Oh yeah, okay. This was Torrie Wilson, and this is Nikki Cross. And she's looking up at her like this. I'm like, wait a minute. What the hell? What was she, on a step stool? What the hell was that?
No, I think she's just that short next to Torrie. And I would not be surprised if Torrie Wilson was wearing some crazy-ass stiletto heels or something like that. That's kind of her thing. You know what I mean? So it fits.
But I tell you.
Yeah, I don't know, man. A lot of the shots tonight. And I love Ron Simmons, but does he have anything besides damn anymore? I mean, the guy was a legendary champion, legendary tag team champion with JBL. Like, it's just all he's worth now is just coming out. Say the line, Ron. Huh? Say the line.
Sergeant Slaughter's getting in that category now. He looks at someone and goes, maggot, maggot. Sounds like a frog. Maggot, maggot.
It's just so painful to watch because he deserves more respect than that. I don't know, man. It's like they bring out the legends just to make fun of them. That's really what they do. They bring out the legends to either make fun of them or oogle the way that they look at 50. I just...
Yeah.
And Mickey James is a legend now, too? Okay.
So fly. We'll talk about Marty Scurll in a moment. I will get back to yours in a second. I got to just throw this up there a minute. Later on tonight, we will quickly give our comments on this list that Ryan Satin, who now writes for Fox or, it's whatever, thought of this genius idea. And I get along with Ryan Satin. I actually have no problem with Ryan Satin, but I will tell you, when we get into this list later, I thought this was one of the dumbest creative ideas. And whenever you use a report card scale and you use it in wrestling, you're either going to really insult some of the people who are on the bottom of that list, or you're going to insult the company that is music. Right. What a odd choice. I mean, that's something, honestly, that's something you would expect Bruce Mitchell to write. That's something you expect that jerk-off Brad Shepard, if he was still doing wrestling stuff. The idea that this guy is doing this with Fox, I'm like, I don't understand. What was in the water the last week? I don't know. We'll talk about that later. We'll talk.
Sure.
Yes. You know what? Let's get this guy out of the way. I don't know how you feel about him, but we know the deal with Marty Scurll and those accusations. And Marty Scurll, he admitted last year that 5 years ago that someone was under the influence, and this 15, 16, of age, not of age. Oh, I was partying. I didn't know this. I didn't know that. Today, Ring of Honor announced that Marty Scurll is gone from Ring of Honor.
Good.
I got one question for you about this.
All right. Why
did it take Ring of Honor all of these months? If this has anything, this is why I don't think it has anything to do with speaking out. Hashtag speaking out. If it did, if you're outraged, you stop what you're doing. You fire this mother, you know?
Right.
I mean, you let all this time go by and we hit the new year and he's gone. This looks like a money situation more than anything else. And if this had to do with the hashtag speaking out, couldn't Marty Scurll take the same route that Joey Ryan did and sue for unlawful termination? But
no, I think he admitted it. So from the way I remember the story with Marty Scurll was the girl was underage, and apparently overseas there's a certain age cutoff where it's legal. I think 16, where he was at, is legal. The difference, though, becomes where a lot of people find this even more disgusting was that she was under the influence of some kind of alcoholic beverages that he may or may not have given her. So the fact that she was underage, unfortunately, is legal where he was at, but because she was under the influence, it makes that entire scene illegal because you can't take advantage of a minor that's under the influence.
Can't use alcohol in that situation.
Right. There's like all these bylaws and strings about it as opposed to saying, hey, she's 15.
I'm not trying to be a dick, but if he took her for cotton candy and then tried to make a move, I guess it probably would have been accepted overseas. But when you use substance abuse, medications, alcohol, and stuff like that, that's where you fall into the wrong place. Right. It's like catching raccoons in New York. Like, there's a raccoon problem.
Let me answer this real quick, too, because Prince Albert, one of the guys that was actually just giving us a super chat, I didn't mean to sit there and say that being 16 is of legal consent. I'm just saying that in those countries, 16 is not considered a crime in certain countries for this case. Right. Even certain states here in the U.S., there's some weird cutoff ages and stuff like that. It can still be considered assault. It can still be considered, forcible if that was to come to case. But from the way it was described, it was just really awful and really disgusting. And there's so many little nuances about this that there's no clarity, and nobody's ever really stepped forward about that. Now, to answer your question of why in the hell is the guy still in ROH all this time, you're probably right. It probably had nothing to do with speaking out. And I know that there's a lot of people that want it to be about speaking out, and I understand the reasons why. But ROH, it's a new year. They probably have ulterior motives, and I don't mean that in a sinister kind of way. I mean they probably have ulterior motives for their company overall. Maybe they're going in a different direction. Maybe that's not somebody that they want to keep on their roster, especially considering the past that he may or may not have. Right. Like, I think it's more of a functional thing for the company as opposed to we're finally standing up for what's right. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Because if it takes you 5 months to be outraged, something's wrong. Yeah. So, good riddance. Good riddance, Marty Scurll. Excuse me, Scurll. I always say Scurll. It's a force of habit. Scurll. Scurll,
any
like
more
squirrel.
Of a Marty than the other Marty? What was it? Marty Jannetty. Did you hear about that silliness that he's trying to get into a vid with Mia Khalifa?
Oh, fuck him. You know what? You know what? Good for him. Seriously. Seriously. At his age, if he could get that done, good for him. Yeah. He's a whack job, but the older he gets and he does that, the more I kind of admire him. Only because, like, he's not like bouncing off the walls like a bad Bugs Bunny cartoon. Like, he's trying to get laid, Yeah. So good for him, man. Good for him. So, but anyway, we'll talk about Raw in a couple of minutes. Sure. We got to fill in some blanks also. I want to give a special shout out. I mean, like I said, to everybody tuning in live. Thank you, Jay Carlos, as always, man. And yes, thank you, Jay Carlos. I was just going to bring this up now. Two of those shows that I noticed tonight was Carlito and Candice Michelle. And we brought up Beth Phoenix last week. WWE quietly removed her from the commercial last week. She wasn't there tonight. But from what I read, not saying, oh, my sources tell me. I didn't have any sources tonight. I didn't ask anybody tonight, but I looked around really quickly, and from what people are saying is they had legitimate travel issues. They couldn't make it to Florida. That's why they didn't show. which, you know, it is what it is. I mean,
Right.
you know, what do you think you would have seen? Seriously. I mean,
They wouldn't have done anything. They didn't have anything planned anyways. If Carlito was there tonight, you know what Carlito would have been doing? Standing next to Torrie Wilson.
with an apple.
Right, with an apple.
Yeah, that's all it was. We got to bring up Hulk Hogan for a second. Look, I have said this for many years now. Everybody deserves redemption, you know, depending on what their faults are. Now, I'm not black, and obviously Hulk Hogan still let me down since I was a Hulkamaniac, and he's done a lot of things over the years. I got blocked from Hogan years before any of this stuff came out. But the thing is that over the years, you know, I think some people do learn from their mistakes. Now, I don't know Hulk Hogan personally. I don't know what's in his heart. I think originally he cried and felt like shit because he got caught and because he was losing all this opportunity. But I think over the years, I think he's learned. I think people do change over the years. But the one thing has been absent about Hulk Hogan for all of these years, and I've brought this up before, and Big Swall, I think, was kind of alluding to that tonight as well. We have never, ever really, for the most part, heard Hulk Hogan go on a speaking tour to like a all-black school or a black group of people and, you know, talk about his mistakes and talk about and try to understand a little bit more why this would offend somebody and this and that. And, you know, just talking to a couple of wrestlers in the back over the years, I don't think is enough. So what happens? Hulk Hogan does an interview with ESPN. And it's to hype up tonight's Legends Raw. And during the interview, they bring up the locker room. And Hulk Hogan, as far as how he is received in the back, this is an exact quote. He says today, quote, "It's a mixed bag. Some people I get a really warm reception from. Some of the younger guys are really cold to me. Like I'm coming to steal the main event. And I'm like, I can't do this anymore, guys. I'm not a threat." So Big Swall goes on social media tonight. She's like, no, I don't think that's the reason, Terry. This guy actually thinks. That's why, as much as it breaks my heart, I was a Hulkamaniac growing up. I still want to believe that in his heart he does not have. But man, you know, talk about someone who is like totally blocked off of like everyday people. This guy, after all of this shit, after all of these years, after Titus O'Neil and all these others making comments, good and bad, after all of these years, with a clear head, he tells ESPN that he thinks he's getting the cold shoulder because they think he might steal their spot. Am I missing something here? What's wrong with this guy?
He's a little delusional. I mean, I would not be surprised to think that he still feels like this is his time. You know, I mean, there was jokes made even tonight that I wouldn't be surprised if Hulk Hogan went down there and dropped the big boot on Keith Lee and Drew McIntyre. We were laughing about it, but I'm like, you know what? If somebody in the back said, "Hey, Hulk, why don't you go down there and drop a boot on both those guys?" You telling me that he wouldn't try? You telling me that he would go out of that ring right now and do that? Like, that's what I'm saying is I think the guy's a little delusional. I think he's past the point of, I mean, because it happens to guys when they get older. I mean, we've been complaining about
denial
this Vince for a while now. Not just denial, but it's like a delusion. Yeah. Like denial implies that they're willingly understanding of the situation, but they continue to do whatever they want to do regardless of what other people think. They deny that their time is over. Delusion means I don't think that they're actually sure that their time is over. I think the actual wall of time is becoming its opacity is lessening. Like they can see through it. Like there's just less of a grasp of everyday reality. Days don't mean as much to them as it does to people that are currently working every day in that company.
Right.
So when he comes down there, I think he's a little delusional. I really think that Hulk Hogan is at the stage of his life where he's becoming delusional.
Not one person I saw online brought this up. And this is another reason why we, for the most part, don't do interviews. But shame on ESPN, whoever did the interview. I didn't even bother to look. But shame on whoever did that interview who didn't have the balls. If you know the situation, you got to know that a lot of the locker room is turned off still by Hulk Hogan because, look, it's many years since it happened. There's been no evidence of him ever saying anything like that ever again or expressing any hatred or anything like that. But I truly think, just an opinion, I truly think in Hogan's heart, he has learned and educated and has changed. But he's like, and this is an outdated reference, he's like the Fonz, who could never admit that he was wrong. Every time the Fonz, when you'd see the Goofy Happy Days, I was like, Hogan just can't come out and say it. And all of these people, because they want to interview these icons, oh, how you doing? Oh, how's your match? What do you think of this? You gonna what do you do? Like, they just ignore the obvious. Why didn't this person say to Hulk, well, Hulk, do you think it might be still carryover from what transpired many years ago, on with the comments? No, we just go past that and talk about the Love Boat, him being on the Love Boat. That's what I say about that interview. I love Hulk Hogan over the years. And I love him for the number one reason that he was my grandmother's favorite wrestler. And if it wasn't my grandmother being a wrestling fan, I wouldn't be here right now. But after all of these years, this man, I think, just told, and I'm sorry for being extreme with this. I think after all of these years, today, that man told the black community, I still haven't learned my lesson. I still haven't repented. I still am in denial. Whether consciously or subconsciously, guys, dazed and confused. Since he's always talking about musical acts. Here's one. Sorry, that's a little too small. There's one. When Hulk Hogan told everyone he was supposed to be on Metallica. These are photoshops by me, by the way. That's one of my little.
Wait, that's a Photoshop?
Yeah, it's a Photoshop. Oh, no, he actually originally was in the group, but, and he was also supposed to be in the Rolling Stones, by the way. And if you noticed, my old show logo is, like, imprinted in the background. I could have Photoshopped it out of it, but, that's Hogan when he claimed that he was supposed to be in the Rolling Stones. Well, to quote Jimi Hendrix, he's still fucking dazed and confused. Idiot, man. How do you blow opportunities like that? Screw Hogan. How do you blow opportunities like that? I don't get it.
I don't know. You know what? After Hogan Knows Best, I think that was when his career started to downward spiral.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I really think that once he was done doing his VH1 reality show, everything started to come down. Once Brooke Hogan got involved with TNA, we were all slapping our heads. Once his son, Nick.
The head of the women's division.
Right. Well, when Nick almost killed or did kill eventually, his best friend. And
brain dead or whatever. Yeah.
Right. That's what I mean. I'm sorry. Yeah. I mean, it was once all that stuff started coming out and then the prison tapes came out of him talking to his son. It's just, you really understood that it was all an act. Like the way that Hogan behaves on camera is all an act. It's not the way he feels. It's not the way he feels about anyone or anything. Yeah. Matter of fact, I would not be surprised if no one knows the real Hogan except for maybe Hogan and his family. And that's maybe. Because Linda Hogan turned out to be kind of a psycho too.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I know you never read her book, but I read her book and holy crap, dude. It is out there. So, I don't know.
By the way, just to bring it up because I know some of you wanted the numbers. The numbers came out today. I'll tell you, I'm a little bit surprised at the numbers, but the Brodie Lee tribute show on AEW Dynamite last week did 977,000 viewers. The week before was 775. So, nice jump. NXT did 586. which is down about 100,000 from the week before. The week before they did 698. But I'll tell you this, something that I'm very, very surprised about. The week before, both shows combined, yes, I know there was a little tape delay, but both shows combined did 1.47 million viewers. Now remember, for the most part, they were unopposed. So, you know, they should have done, especially NXT, should have done a much better rating the week before. But last week, going up against each other, and especially with the tribute show that everybody was anticipating, Pro Wrestling last Wednesday only did 1.56 million viewers, which is surprisingly low. And I know some people can say, well, you had college sports, you had this. You know, last Wednesday was a different night, especially because of the tribute for Brodie Lee. And yes, AEW's numbers were impressive, but I was very surprised that these numbers combined weren't higher. And
let me ask you a question about that. And this is something I didn't ask, you know, I haven't talked to Joey about this or anything else like that. Do you think people weren't expecting AEW to put on such a fabulous tribute show, and maybe they were expecting kind of what WWE has done over the years?
Possibly.
And that's why maybe the ratings weren't higher?
I'll tell you why I say no. Because Tony Khan had announced 5 matches before that Wednesday. And all the matches were tributes to Brodie Lee. And so everybody knew going into it what the matches were on paper. The only thing we weren't sure was the level of progression in storylines for the following week. And I felt like as the show went on, it felt more and more, not only special, but powerful. And, you know, that's a show where I would have expected the numbers to go up and up and up and up and up. So combined, I'm very surprised. Because if you think about it, especially the week before that was unopposed for the most part, last week's rating combined only went up 90,000 viewers. I know people don't look at it like that, but that surprised me a little bit.
But Ben even brought up a good point too. He's like, you know, I'm very surprised that it was a good tribute show considering that WWE has most of the footage.
Right.
Yeah, they did a great show. I think it was very surprising to myself. I know to other people that, you know, we talk about with the shows and stuff like that, friends of the show, they were surprised too. I was just curious, your thoughts. Do you think that the ratings reflected how people expected this to be a tribute show as opposed to what we actually got, which was a good thing?
Well, I don't think any of us expected it to be as good as it was and powerful.
Right.
Because this is the thing. When we've had wrestler deaths over the years, you know, maybe Owen, you know, even Benoit before they found out, you know, he killed his family, you know, you would have many wrestlers paying a tribute during the night, and you had people crying and in tears and this and that. But even as far as the matches go, it didn't feel as powerful in the ring. Like, you really didn't see like heels and baby faces almost like breaking bread together or hugging it out. And yes, I know that it didn't happen in all the AEW matches as well, but you saw a lot of behind the scenes footage.
Mad at MJF. I saw a lot of people.
Oh, I loved it. I loved it. And I brought this up. I brought this up last week, and I'll say it here for anybody that didn't tune into the Wednesday show. MJF getting in the kid's face and MJF saying, fuck that kid, was absolutely necessary. Because if MJF didn't say any of that stuff in the kid's face, there would have been no reason for that kid to whale him with a Singapore cane. So the more MJF was an asshole, the more he got his in the end. You know, these people, oh, you know, can you break kayfabe for one night? You know, you're a wrestling fan. That's not your place. If you don't like it and you don't feel, if you feel uncomfortable, that's your right. But the more MJF was a scumbag, the more powerful the moment was when he whaled him in the head with the Singapore cane. So absolutely loved it. MJF did exactly, and trust me, you know, what you don't see is MJF talking to Brodie Lee's wife, his kid, beforehand. This is all planned out in advance. He didn't shoot on his own. Trust me. If MJF and everybody was told, do not go against the kid, and MJF went upon himself and did that, trust me, the entire locker room would have been in absolute uproar over it. And MJF did his job and did it beautifully, and so did Brodie Lee's son. I love all the stuff that came out after with the Adam Cole footage and everything like that, and I said it on Friday. I truly believe Vince McMahon has a soft spot, but I think he's seething inside his teeth. He's grinding his teeth. Not really because WWE wrestlers are praising the AEW tribute show, but that if you noticed, Big E and others, Luke Harper, saying the WWE gimmick name, Luke Harper wrestled in that company for 7 times more, maybe more, than he ever did in AEW. Yet all the WWE wrestlers did not put the WWE ring name on their armband. They didn't put his real name on his armband. They put his AEW name on his armband. And yes, his son's name is Brodie also, but the point is that I guarantee you Vince McMahon had to have been seething that all of his own wrestlers, here's the big banner on the TV, the big graphic, Luke Harper, and here's all the wrestlers not using the name that they worked with him with, but no, using the Brodie Lee name. I truly believe Vince was seething with that. And I don't really care. The tribute was awesome, and that's all that matters.
That's a horrible reason for him to be upset. I mean, they're taking time to honor their friend, their literal fallen friend. And the thing that that Vince, the office, might be upset about is the fact that they used his other name, his other gimmick name. Like, I don't know. That just seems like you're losing sight of what's important here. Yeah. What's important here is that you've lost a friend. What's important here is a guy who was taken from everybody way too fucking young. And what's important here is that his son now doesn't have a father. And this is somebody that was connected to multiple storylines and multiple wrestlers that fans love and adore, if they didn't love and adore him directly. And if you're worried about his name or the name on somebody's armband being the name in another company, like, do you see how shallow that is to even talk about it? Yeah. It just seems like if there's any possibility of truth to that, it's just gross. It's just gross on a human level.
Oh yeah.
It's the wrong way.
Now, I don't know if this is gross on a human level, but let's talk about Raw.
Sure.
Now, before we get to Goldberg, it's interesting because you and I, if anybody that tunes in on a regular basis, you know this already. But it's interesting, and this is why I like doing timestamps now, because we can go back to previous episodes with timestamp. But you and I just talked 2 weeks ago about Goldberg, and that his contract goes to 2024, and that he has, I think, 2 or 3 guaranteed matches per year. And we said that Goldberg has to be coming back sooner or later he's got these matches set. And they're obviously cashing one in now. Now, we'll talk about Goldberg in a minute, but I got to bring this up more than anything else. Last week, I was on solo, because the death and, it was appropriate.
Yeah.
But when I opened up the show last week and had the lighter in my hand, when I talked about the ending of Raw last week, I went, ah. And I know a lot of people liked it originally because they thought it was going to carry over to today. They thought there was going to be a massive cliffhanger. And I said last week, WWE does not do that. In fact, the last couple of weeks, their closing out of Raw looks sloppy. Look at tonight. Goldberg shoves Drew McIntyre down, and the next thing you know, USA Network, they're off the air for the night. This is the 3rd or 4th week in a row that Raw is going off the air abruptly, and I don't think it's organized or intentional. I think it's just disorganization. USA Network is not giving an inch on Monday nights. They'll give 8 extra minutes for NXT, but on Mondays, they are cutting that shit off. And here's where I'm going with this. Last week, you had Alexa Bliss simulating, and she's pouring gasoline over herself.
Right.
The lights go off, the Fiend teasing this and that. Randy Orton with the match in his hand teasing. Yes, I know a half hour into the show, Randy Orton says, and I said at the beginning, the voices in my head told me to do it, but I didn't do it. Blah, 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 blah. Explain to me how Randy Orton has a full-blown match with Jeff Hardy today, and there's no tease of Alexa Bliss. There's no tease of the Fiend. There's no tease of nothing. If you didn't watch WWE programming for the last 3 or 4 weeks, and you decided to tune in tonight because, hey, it's Legends Night. I want to see some of the old-time WWF wrestlers. Right. And you tuned in, you would have never known that The Fiend was set on fire, that Alexa Bliss was almost set on fire. And I brought this up Friday for New Year's Day. All of the complicated WWE storylines have all gone to shit. Retribution, it was originally Antifa. That storyline has gone to shit. The Mysterios with Murphy and Aaliyah and the potted plant with the nice ass and everything, that storyline has gone to shit. This Randy Orton Fiend Alexa Bliss has quickly gone to ultimate shit.
Don't forget, Randy Orton and Edge was a big deal there until Edge got injured. That's gone too.
Yeah. I mean, every complicated storyline has gone to shit. Yeah, shout out to Ted Turner. He's the one that sparked the combo on Friday. But, what do you think about the fact that tonight, nothing with Alexa Bliss? No teasing, no lights going off.
They did like a little recap in the middle of the show talking about it. I don't know if you must have missed
Yeah, I saw it. Yeah, they recapped it. That's right before they showed Randy with Charlie Caruso. The voices.
Right.
What do you think of that? The fact they didn't continue that?
Because they're both dead, right? Isn't that why? Because Alexa Bliss is dead now, and
no, he said he didn't burn her.
Oh.
The voices came back after a week. Seriously, 2 weeks. Seriously, December 21st, his promo on Raw. The voices are no longer in my head. And when I heard that, the first thing I said to myself is, well, your entrance music is going to kind of be stupid now. If you don't have voices in your head anymore, then why are you playing an entrance theme? I hear voices in my head. No, they're not there anymore. And then one week later.
Change the lyrics, DT. I used to have voices in my head. That's what it's going to be now.
I still have voices in my head. I absolutely do. They told me tonight that Raw sucked. I mean, we had cameos. It's nice to see.
To tell you that?
Huh?
You needed the voices to tell you that?
Yeah, because I really tried to convince myself, it's the first Raw of 2021. 2020, remember, Drew McIntyre Claymore 2020. That sounded an awful lot like Braun Strowman. John Cena beat the shit out of 20. Like, okay, 2020 is gone. Now we're going to kick off 2021. Give us some interesting matches. No, we get Elias versus AJ Styles again. Mm-hmm. We get, I don't want to call the New Day the Street Profits, but if you pay attention to the Street Profits, and you pay attention to New Day, their style, their promos, their comedy, the way they act is almost the same. It's almost the same. And Miz and Morrison, almost like the White Prophets. They're like the Penthouse Prophets. Like, you got the Street Profits and you got the Penthouse. Miz and Morrison is like the heel version of the Street Profits. We have like 3 different forms of the Street Profits on TV. So they give us heel Street Profits versus babyface New Day. And then you give us, and here's another thing. I don't know if anybody noticed this tonight. 3 championship matches ended up where the champions lost because of non-title. Not only that, we had 4 matches in a row that resulted in a roll-up win. 4 matches in a row, roll-up pins. And we got the return of the referee fuck-up tonight with Matt Riddle versus Lashley. Oh, yeah. And I'll tell you the truth. The main event I liked a little bit, even though we knew what the outcome was going to be. But I really liked Matt Riddle and Bobby Lashley today. What did you think about that match?
It was okay. I mean, I kind of passed right through it. I mean, I'm glad that you enjoyed it and stuff like that. But for the most part, I didn't see anything exceptional about it. I don't know. I was underwhelmed. You know, like when I really think about tonight's matches, I was underwhelmed by a lot of things. I was supposed to be shocked that Shelton Benjamin lost tonight with a quick roll up. I wasn't. I was supposed to be shocked that Shayna was flexing Dana Brooke tonight.
Oh my goodness! You know what that looks like.
It really was an underwhelming night. I'm sorry. And for a night that's supposed to be Legends night, the Legends didn't do anything. The only big bit that we had tonight was the H phone, brother.
Look, I have always said I don't mind a little bit of nostalgia. Nostalgia is always fun as long as it doesn't take control of the show. What
but
this looked like
on Legends night? Don't you think Legends night should be when nostalgia takes control of the show?
No.
Like tonight, you know when WWE does those goofy cosplay uniforms that they put up on their website and everything else like that? Like tonight, having somebody dress up like Hulk Hogan should have been that night. Somebody fanboying out for these legends, that would have made a lot of sense too. Like, I know what you mean about not having the legends take control in a storyline sense, and I agree with you that they shouldn't hinder or make the new talent or the current talent look bad in any way. But there should be a lot more involvement. I'm surprised that they couldn't find a legend that they could have decent matches with. Like, it just... Dude, Tatanka looked like he was ready to go. He didn't say anything at all, and I'm still looking at Tatanka going... Yeah, he could tomahawk chop somebody.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Now, let's talk about how the show ended. Then we'll get into match by match.
Okay. Yes.
All right. So we had this conversation a couple of weeks ago that Goldberg's return was imminent. We didn't know when. We didn't know against who. I don't know where this leaves Sheamus. Now I'm starting to think that Big E could very well end up winning the Royal Rumble, or I should say whoever wins the Royal Rumble is going to challenge Roman Reigns. I think that is almost a given now. And I have a feeling that WWE thinks in their mind, unless one scenario that I keep dreaming about that I mentioned Friday and people cringe when I said it, but it feels like WWE may be holding off Sheamus versus Drew McIntyre for either WrestleMania or after the Royal Rumble. Like, Sheamus will be like the stop along the route to WrestleMania. But the only other scenario I see of a wrestler winning the Rumble and challenging Drew is if Brock Lesnar returns. I think if Brock Lesnar were to make a return at the Royal Rumble and win the damn thing and do the reverse, he challenges Drew McIntyre for WrestleMania. But tonight, we get Drew McIntyre versus Keith Lee. Fun match. Powerhouse. I mean, they really do work well together. We've seen them work against each other a few times this year. Early on, remember, greetings and salutations when he introduced himself to Drew and Randy Orton a long time ago. In the end, I mean, you had, I think Keith Lee hit like the Spanish fly off the top rope, was going for the spirit bomb, and then, he hits a couple of, tries to Claymore a couple of times. One time Keith Lee caught him, but the second time he nailed Keith Lee and got the win. And here I'm thinking, okay, maybe Sheamus is going to come out. The problem is I'm looking at the clock and it's like 10:58. And I know USA don't give no overrun, no matter what legends are there. Instead, we get Goldberg's music hit. And Goldberg is walking. It's funny because you have all the guest legends on the rampart. And they they didn't move, but they parted the sea, almost like where Vince usually comes out when they do that. But instead, Goldberg comes out. Goldberg looks like he's walking.
Firework, Goldberg had legends.
Yes. Goldberg looked like he was walking with a little bit of a limp. Looks to be in great shape. There's no question Goldberg is in phenomenal shape. But he enters the ring, and I have defended Goldberg repeatedly. I ripped all those goofs that were sulkamaniacs. They were sulking when they thought Goldberg was going to be at Thunderdome a couple of months ago, and all it was he was sitting, on his LED screen. People got triggered. But I really have to say this tonight. I thought his promo, which was fed to him by WWE, is already in contention of the dumbest promo of the year, the dumbest storyline of the year, because this is almost like Tommaso Ciampa. It's almost like Tommaso Ciampa's storyline revisited, and people don't know what I'm talking about if you don't follow NXT. Tommaso Ciampa came back about a month or 2 months ago, and he's beating up Jake Atlas and a bunch of other people, and then he cuts a promo, and he's talking about how the locker room, that he's one of the dying breed in the locker room. If you complain enough, you get what you want, and he's going to eliminate that atmosphere. And, you're thinking of entitlement, you're thinking of all these young wrestlers that, they, instead of earning what, to get the spot, you bitch and you get it. So who's the first person he feuds with? Timothy Thatcher, who is the complete fucking opposite of what he's complaining about. Timothy Thatcher's old school. So Ciampa cuts this whole thing, and he feuds with someone that doesn't fit that mold. Tonight we had the exact same thing. There is nothing about Drew McIntyre's championship run that says that he thinks that the old-timers can't do it anymore, and he thinks this and he thinks that. What fucking planet have, in the last 12 months, have I seen anything in a promo or a storyline or anything like that where Drew McIntyre does that? Everything that Goldberg said out of his mouth, it had nothing to do with Drew McIntyre.
Right. He made it up.
What is wrong with WWE?
Out of a box that came from nowhere. It's just they made up stuff in order to make Goldberg the kind of the antagonist or the anti-antagonist in this, if you believe Drew or if you believe Goldberg. I'm not looking forward to this. Boy, oh boy, this looks like crap, DT. This looks
Goldberg's
like
promo.
Crap.
It's not his fault. This is WWE's storyline. Goldberg's promo made...
You don't think he improvised a little bit? I think he improvised a little bit.
Yeah, but his promo made zero sense. You know what it feels like? I think I just nailed it.
What's that? Yeah.
Goldberg's promo should have been cut on Roman Reigns.
Huh. Yeah, I could see that.
The tribal chief, the head of the table, he's the leader. That that fits Roman Reigns. It makes zero fucking sense saying that to Drew McIntyre. Zero.
I think a lot of these stories you're right. That would have made a lot more sense if he was cutting that on Roman Reigns. But I don't know, man. I mean, it really goes. Then we have to sit there and try and imagine who's going to win the Royal Rumble. I'm still feeling Big E winning the Royal Rumble and eventually going after Roman.
Yeah.
And I know you brought up Brock Lesnar coming in there to clean fucking house. That's a direction that WWE could go. And obviously, if there was intentions of Goldberg versus Roman, that ain't it now. Yeah. So I don't know. It's kind of weird. It's like we have to try and play chess with broken pieces, because there's a lot of storylines lately that would have made sense if they were promos against different people.
Yeah.
It's almost like they're playing musical chairs with the actual creative storyline. So I don't know what's going on in the company. Right?
I'll take a bite of what you just said. It's like, when we met up a couple of times in person, it's like I said to you on the phone, hey, Mish, bring your checkerboard at big event. We'll play some checkers. You bring the checkerboard, and I bring chess pieces. So you whip out the checkerboard, but I brought chess pieces. So we're trying to play chess on a checkerboard. And it feels, look, all of the teasing that WWE's done with Goldberg, and Goldberg has done in interviews. That's why I said 2 weeks ago, I love when Goldberg is Trollberg. But everything, when Goldberg was being Trollberg, everything was towards Roman Reigns. This feels like at the last minute, WWE said, you know what? Instead of Roman Reigns, we're going to have you go against Drew McIntyre. to help solidify his legacy. That's what we do. So everything you've been training, not just physically, but psychologically for promos and everything else, do it the same, but you're going to do it on Drew McIntyre instead. Guess what? It makes no fucking sense whatsoever. And
Totally
if Drew McIntyre beats him, I mean, then, you know what I mean? It's like, there's nothing against Drew McIntyre, there's nothing against Goldberg. But talk about shit out of nowhere. I mean, this, I'm not feeling this at all. I am not feeling this at all. And look, when Goldberg challenged The Fiend, you know, none of us thought in a million years that Goldberg was winning. We thought The Fiend would just choke him out. Right. Goldberg doesn't get pinned. He passes out. Over.
Right.
And he beat the fucking
Fiend a victim. You would give him a named victim, a legendary victim, and then the Fiend can work from there. Right. And yeah, well, you know, we saw how that turned out. So,
and not only that, you know, it would have been great if, you know, now you think of the storyline. What do you do about the Fiend? Because now Goldberg is back on TV, and does it make sense that Bray Wyatt of the Fiend doesn't try to get at Goldberg after what happened? You know what I mean? It's just, what a horrible.
But then they have to do, even if they do have the Fiend make some sort of a run-in or comeback against Goldberg for some reason, they still have to do it where they answer what the fuck happened with him and Randy Orton.
Yeah.
It's really a screwed up web right now. So I think the Fiend is going to be gone for a minute. Like, I thought that this might have been like a storyline that he comes back in, you know, a couple weeks and everything's done. Man, I don't know. At this point, I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't even show up at Royal Rumble. I don't know, man.
And you think about tonight with Randy Orton. Randy Orton wants to beat up all the legends.
Right.
Like, what does that have to do with, like, the Fiend and everything else? Now, what is going to happen? The Fiend is going to come to the rescue of the legends? Randy should have threatened to set them all on fire.
The next thing we're going to see, DT, is Randy Orton is going to be accosting all the senior citizens at like an old folks home. He's just going to be going in there, just taking out old people. Randy Orton loves hurting old people. That's his thing. They could.
No, this is bad. All right, I just thought of they could call it the RK-OVID, you know, like R-COVID or RKOVID.
Yes,
I know, bad,
yes.
bad. Sorry, everybody, bad. Now, speaking of bad tonight, another pathetically bad, horrendous. Put it this way: I don't think and please, everyone, if you notice the last week or two, I am responding to everybody's comments on YouTube.
Sure.
Speak up, mingle, let's talk in the comment section. You agree, disagree, you want to vent, just write. And here I'm going to throw this out there too. When WWE does not play a replay, that's when you know something is not just the drizzling shits, but the ultimate drizzling shits.
Right.
Ric Flair hooking his own daughter. They tried to play it off that Ric Flair wasn't paying attention. They didn't play a replay. And when they didn't play a replay, as soon as it happened, I said, this has got to be interesting. I rewound the DVR, and I look at it, and Ric Flair is looking right at his daughter, and as she runs to the ring, he hooks the leg.
Yeah.
And they're trying to play off that. Right? He had because they tried to play it off, the commentators, that he thought he was doing that to Lacey Evans or Peyton Royce.
Oh, yeah.
He the fuck was that?
Lacey, dude, that's hilarious. Are you kidding me?
That was
probably the funniest thing that happened tonight. Maybe I'm enjoying it for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
But the fact that Lacey was rubbing on Ric Flair and kissing on him and stuff like that, Ric Flair was smiling, but I guarantee you that was Shoot smiling.
Oh, yeah, sure. I mean, look, Lacey Evans is attractive.
Dude,
but
it was funny to me. And then Charlotte Flair is cock blocking her old man. Come on. That's just silliness on a whole different level. You got to appreciate that.
Look, man.
Dad, stop trying to fuck all my enemies in the ring, can ya? Dad, put it away. Put your Cialis back down, Dad. You know, like, it was hilarious. It's totally bad. You're right. It's not good for the storyline, and it's goofy.
It was so stupid.
It doesn't make sense. But the fact that Ric Flair is still trying to nut in 2021 is pretty fucking funny to me. I don't know.
That was the worst. I'm telling you, we left this Raw with 2 or 3 moments that are going to be in contention for like the worst spots of the year. Let me be honest with you. I remember last year with the Dark Order. What was it? The Dark Order and Dustin Rhodes, where the Dark Order was just punching air. You know, anybody remember that early on in AEW's run in Dynamite? This, I think, was just as bad because they didn't play a replay. So that I knew immediately, okay, this must be really pitiful and pathetic. They didn't even do it from a different camera angle. You look at it, and Ric Flair's looking right at his daughter. It wasn't like he was looking away and did this and then realized, oh, shit. Looking right at his daughter, hooks the leg, daughter falls, and she gets pinned. And then she gets in his face. I'm like, you know, punt him. You know, it's just like, right. After all of this garbage, oh, man, I don't know what the fuck that purpose was tonight. I mean, are they trying to convince us that Lacey Evans and Peyton Royce are viable contenders for this titles? What was the purpose of this tonight?
I think they're just trying to add another dynamic between Charlotte and Rick, and even to a lesser extent, Charlotte and Asuka. Maybe they're trying to paint Charlotte as the heel of the team, and maybe we're going to have Asuka as the baby face. And since people want to hate Charlotte, this is a way for WWE to make people, oh, yeah, look at her. What a bad person. She's cock-blocking her dad. Jesus Christ, Charlotte, you're a bad person. We don't want to see you anymore. So they're going to have that weird heel-face dynamic, kind of like they've had before with other tag teams.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems kind of like simplistic writing, and what easier way to do it than having Charlotte turn on Rick? Oh, can you believe she hit her old man? That's horrible. Dear Lord, will he make it? You know, like it's going to be one of those. So I think this is character development for Charlotte, and then eventually, you know, Rick's going to do. I don't know. I mean, the involvement of Lacey, I think, is a one and done. I mean, don't get me wrong. There is a chance, DT, that we go into a deep romantic love angle, like Al and Dawn Marie.
Correct. The fuck maybe is this with the New Day now?
Maybe we're going to see Lacey and Ric Flair in a hotel room together.
Correct. I'm obviously trying to be annoying. Is this like...
That's all right, man.
I don't fucking get it, man. Tonight should have been a feel-good show. You see a couple of legends. You see a couple of faces you haven't seen in a while. You do a couple of skits. One of the skits cost Angel Garza the 24/7 championship.
Yes.
And every skit, it just felt so unnecessary. If you look at these results from tonight, seriously, now we'll get into match by match, but if you look at these results tonight, it almost feels like, oh, everybody's going to be thinking about the legends and Goldberg and Drew McIntyre and Keith Lee. So in the midst of all of this, we'll try to sneak in a couple of surprise wins, you know, to try to help elevate somebody in the process. So, but we first open up, like I said, with the Penthouse Profits, you know, Miz and John Morrison. They're doing their whole comedy shtick. It felt just like the Street Profits. They're talking about matches for later in the night. They're doing insults and this and that. They get interrupted. Well, they didn't really get interrupted, I guess, with the New Day. They have this back and forth where both teams are annoying. And then you have Teddy Long come out. And Teddy Long, you know, see, there's one thing about video. Now I finally get to do this. And I'm surprised I actually can do it a little bit. But Teddy Long comes out. We saw him on the Gallows and Anderson, you know, clusterfuck pay-per-view, and I say that complimentary. So we know what Teddy Long looks like now. But he's out there, and he decides he's going to put Miz and Morrison against The Undertaker, because that's what he used to do. So Adam Pearce whispers in his head and tells him, no, book these two teams together. So we get, a tag team match. And in the end, Miz and Morrison lose to the New Day. Miz has his fucking briefcase back, as I brought up last week, made 0 sense. Where the fuck was Adam Pearce during TLC? Was he taking a shit? He wrestled in the match. Storyline. Right. Why didn't AJ Styles come out on Raw tonight and say, you gave him the briefcase back, which means he shouldn't have been in the match, which makes the match null and void, and I should have my rematch. He should have never been in a... No, we're supposed to go like that's supposed to be way over our heads.
Right.
So now we get the replay of last week with the whole thing with Lexi, and Randy Orton. Randy Orton, as I said before, 2 weeks ago, no voices anymore. Last week, the voices are back. The voices are telling him to burn her. He doesn't burn her, blah, 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 blah. So instead of Randy Orton, now deciding he's going to torment Alexa Bliss today because I don't know where she went. I mean, I don't know why she wasn't there. But Randy Orton, for the rest of the night, decides, let me torment the legends. Right. So we get the footage of Angel Garza beating R-Truth on New Year's Eve. They did a TikTok video. It was like a little Christmas thing they were doing. Angel Garza offering a rose to all the older women tonight, if you notice, which is fine. Still nothing about Eva Marie. AJ Styles takes on Elias again, and same result again. This time around, AJ Styles with the Styles Clash for the win, and after the match is over, Jackson Riker tries to hit AJ Styles with the guitar, but AJ Styles ducked and almost basically just destroys the guitar as Jackson Riker is striking it. I'm still trying to figure out, is AJ Styles an almost baby faces now? Because it certainly feels that way. What do you think?
I don't think he's a baby face. I think he's still a heel. I think he's still heel with almost. I don't see him. I don't know, though. The way that the storyline has gone so far, I'm confused myself, DT.
Don't get me wrong. The match was okay. But we just got it last week. This is fucking Legends Night. It's the first Raw of 2021. Mix it up a little bit. Give us a little bit of a different...
I mean, look, I know we got other things to talk about, too, once we get past Raw here, but I got to be honest, man. These last couple weeks are not getting me ready for the Royal Rumble.
No.
These last couple weeks should be hype time. Like, we should be on hype patrol right now. We should all be sitting there going... Who the fuck is going to win the Royal Rumble? What matches are we going to get? Who's going to be facing who from the Royal Rumble at WrestleMania? Like, this is hype time. There is no hype going on right now. AJ Styles is not doing anything amazing that I'm thinking, oh, well, yeah, he clearly deserves a shot. None of these people that we're watching on TV feel like they're positioning themselves to get the shot at Royal Rumble. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
In prior years, this hype time was for everybody to step up and be like, oh, okay, well, I think this guy can go. Well, no, but have you seen the way that this guy has been going? And I'm not just talking about as a fan, but even talking about behind the scenes. You're supposed to be looking at them and genuinely confused as to who on the roster might be the next guy. And not confused because they want to swerve everybody, but confused because there's so many picks to choose from.
Anybody out there, could you pull up the date of the Royal Rumble? It's got to be
the 31st.
Yeah, I was going to say it's got to be about 3 weeks away. So it's actually 4 weeks away. Yeah.
Yep.
And Pat, I agree with you. Royal Rumble is not one of those pay-per-views that should feel like an afterthought. Yes, we have a whole month to start feeling otherwise. I think one thing we could take away from the Legends tonight is probably everybody that we saw is not going to be in the Royal Rumble. No. Mark Henry, after having to use the knee scooter, that little... and by the way, for people out there, let me get this cleared up out of the way, because there was a little bit of controversy online. Mark Henry had a knee walker. If you've never seen one, go on Amazon. They're not expensive. When you have knee surgery, all right, especially when you're heavier, you can't really put weight on it. Canes are very, very difficult. Crutches are very hard, especially if you're heavy on the upper body as well. And you use those still, but you also use the assistance of a knee walker. And that's what he was using. Some people, and you'd be surprised how many people thought this. Do a Twitter search and look. There are droves of people. They thought he had his leg amputated because you couldn't see the lower part of his leg. They didn't realize that his knee is resting on the seat. That's what it is. You rest your knee on the seat. It takes all the weight bearing off your leg, and you just glide. You glide. That's what it is. It's not an electric scooter or anything. You can't just sit on it and then do wheelies and stuff. But people out there really thought that, you know, Mark Henry lost his leg, or they thought that, you know, something seriously was wrong. You know, that is to assist in the healing process. But it looks like Mark Henry is not going to be. I don't think Big Show is going to be in the Royal Rumble either, because Big Show got totally embarrassed by Randy Orton putting him down and everything. Randy Orton also embarrassed Ric Flair, calling him old and everything else. It felt like rinse and repeat. Remember that night where he turned the lights off and all you heard was disarray, and you turn it on and everybody's unconscious on the floor?
Yes.
Actually, I just figured it out. Maybe Edge is going to return at the Royal Rumble. And when Randy Orton decided to fuck with all of the legends tonight, maybe this is going to be the segue to bringing back Edge. The question is, the fuck is going to happen to the Fiend Bray Wyatt storyline now?
Forgotten.
That is
wouldn't be
horrible,
the first
man.
time that WWE has forgotten the storyline. Forgotten.
Oh,
Probably.
man.
If it ends up being Edge returns and Randy Orton and Edge start their feud back up, it's either going to be forgotten and the Fiend comes back and just goes on in business as usual, or the Fiend is going to be out for a very long time until Edge and Orton are done with their feud.
Yeah.
So
Mighty, thank you. You're right. Sammy Guevara used the knee walker also last year. He used it also. So yes, good point. But man, I mean, I don't mind storyline shifting, but not at the expense. I mean, like I said, you look at Nikki Cross today, not just the height difference, but it's like I'm looking at her and I'm saying to myself, and I brought it up Friday, I brought it up twice last week, like WWE's totally fucked up her character. Totally. Yeah. Absolutely destroyed Nikki Cross's character. Especially where we thought maybe she comes back as a psychopath again. Maybe she comes back and is like even more demented than Alexa Bliss. No, today we have her, you know, to Torrie Wilson. I miss my family in Scotland. I miss my family. Lexi, where's Lexi? She broke my mug. Man, that was awful. Awful. Peyton Royce and Lacey Evans. Here is the non-title clusterfucks that I was talking about, and the roll-ups. Yeah. Peyton Royce and Lacey Evans, they defeat Charlotte and Asuka. As we said earlier, it was an okay match. It was sloppy at times, but towards the end, you have Lacey Evans kind of like, you know, sort of hitting on Ric Flair, and, you know, then Charlotte's running the ropes and Ric Flair trips her up, and she gets pinned, and Charlotte gets in Ric Flair's face. It was awful. After that match, we have the segment in the back with Drew McIntyre, Sheamus, Jimmy Hart, and Hulk Hogan. I actually like that segment because Drew McIntyre, you know, there are some wrestlers that got into the business because of Hulk Hogan. I'm not saying that Drew McIntyre is one of them, but there are wrestlers that do like Hulk Hogan. Not everybody, but it was a fun segment. I thought it was innocent. Sheamus looking a little bit annoyed was pretty cool. you know Sheamus and Drew McIntyre are having a match. The only question is it going to be, at WrestleMania, or is it going to be in the middle between Royal Rumble and WrestleMania? But, there was also a segment in the back where Matt Riddle was talking to Big Show, and he said, what do you think about Big Bro? Still doing the bro stuff.
Yeah.
But Riddle...
It was nice to see Jimmy Hart there for a minute. I will say that. It was nice to see Jimmy here.
Yeah. No, Jimmy Hart, look, I met him at a big event. I had met him once before, several years earlier, but I never really got to mingle with him. And you remember, can I tell everyone?
Sure.
We went to get bottled water. And Jimmy Hart was just such a nice guy. He didn't, he insisted on, buying a bottle of water for everyone. We're like, no, I'm not going to take money from Jimmy Hart to buy bottled water. And you and I walked about 15 minutes at the big event to the other side of the building just to get Jimmy Hart a bottled water. I mean, the man was such a nice guy, man. And you got to hang out with him. You went upstate. You went here. You went there. So Jimmy Hart is good people, man. 20 years ago, I would have said otherwise. And he is really, really, really friendly.
The funniest thing about him is, and maybe it's because I'm a big person or something like that, but he was so tiny.
He is.
Tiny.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
really
he's
nice, man.
He's a good person. He was very fun to talk to. Yeah.
Absolutely. Riddle, and again, the main event, maybe because I knew Drew was retaining, I wasn't into it as much as I should have, but I really enjoyed Riddle and Lashley. I was hoping at the beginning it wasn't going to be a no contest. I was afraid it was going to be a no contest because Riddle kept attacking Lashley. He has this attitude now, and I'm like, finally, thank you. None of this bro nonsense. He just kept going at Lashley, and I thought the referee was going to throw the match out. But we have the match. Match was really competitive. Loved how they worked together. And I have no problem with this being the setup for a match at the Royal Rumble. But basically what they did was, towards the end of the match, Bobby Lashley puts Riddle in the Hurt Lock, and Lashley has him in the Hurt Lock. Riddle goes off the rope trying to break it. The referee ducks. And if you look at the referee in the spot, the referee goes all the way around and he's not looking, and Riddle is tapping out. Referee doesn't see it. As soon as he taps out, Lashley drops him. Thinks he won the match. So Lashley puts his hands up in the air. MVP, who's out there also, thinks that Lashley won. Referee didn't see the tap. Next thing you know, Riddle with the roll-up. So we have Charlotte rolled up. Now we have Bobby Lashley rolled up. Riddle rolls up Lashley. Two champions pinned in a row, roll-ups. And, Lashley is pissed off. MVP is pissed off. And Lashley, in the back later on says that next time he gets his hands on Riddle, he's going to, not even break the Hurt Lock. He's going to beat the shit out of him. I'm really looking forward to this match. I had no problem with Lashley losing today because they blamed it on the ref. It was a referee. That's exactly what we were saying in the past about referee fuck-ups.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you looking forward to them too, or is you just, indifferent
I'm out
right
in the
now?
air. Look, I'm sorry. I'm just out in the air. I'm not really looking forward to any of the matches right now. And I'm not trying to be conflicting or anything like that, but I'm really kind of bummed. I know I'm supposed to be looking forward to 2021, and I'm looking forward to a fresh lineup and fresh matches and stuff like that, but I'm not getting into it. It's been a very difficult night to even watch the matches. It was so easy to breeze through because it was difficult to pay attention to them. And I'm not trying to be that guy. I like WWE for the most part. There's a lot of parts of the company that I absolutely adore, but SmackDown is even better than Raw right now. I don't know what it is. What
was my least favorite night?
The niche issues. There's a lot of missed spots. Nobody cares. There's a lot of bad camera angles. Nobody cares. The lack of an audience is not helping anything. The fact that USA is cutting the show off in the middle of a sentence, not helping things. The fact that storylines are being confused week to week to week is difficult to follow because they're changing the storylines that are meant for different people, from Alexa Bliss and Nikki to Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton to to keep going. There's other ones I'm forgetting about, and
well, we could get through these three.
I know. No, I'm not even. I'm just saying, like, there's so many problems going into Raw right now. It's like, how can I sit there and assess these matches when it's the least important thing that's happening on the show?
Dana Brooke beats Shayna Baszler in 30 seconds. Yeah, Shayna Baszler's tossing around Mandy Rose.
Why?
And Dana Brooke is like, why are you doing that to her? Well, they're having a match and Shayna Baszler is a bully. I mean, why do you think she's doing it? It's just the storyline is stupid. So they're trying so hard to elevate Dana, and it's just nobody's buying it. I mean, I know she has fans, but Shayna Baszler is not an idiot. In her character, her personality, you're trying to make it seem like Shayna is like, it's almost like, like Bugs Bunny, trying to evade Elmer Fudd, or Wile E. Coyote and the Roadrunner. It's just, the problem is
building up Shayna to be this monster, to be this straight up killer. And now they're going to sacrifice her for Dana Brooke. Dana Brooke is a scrub that doesn't even belong on TV.
Yep.
She is a poor wrestler. She's not a good promo. And frankly, I don't think that she belongs there. There are plenty of other women that deserve the spot that Dana's in. Get rid of her. Why are they sacrificing Shayna for Dana? I don't understand. Once again, more of this storyline goofiness.
Yep.
Look, if Dana found a way around Shayna to beat her up and stuff like that, it's like maybe if there was some believability to it, but nobody's looking at Shayna going, oh yeah, clearly Dana Brooke's going to take her out.
And it was a roll-up again. So we got another roll-up finish. Right. Garbage. Randy Orton versus Jeff Hardy. I've seen it so many times over the years. Yeah. Now they have this infatuation with people putting their fingers or tools through Jeff Hardy's earlobes. It burns a little, but you could pull them. You could pull them. I mean, you could twist them. I mean, it's going to make my ears red and it's, a little annoying, but it doesn't hurt everybody. You could all do that. Look, I'm yanking. Oh my God, look. Now my ears are red, but that's the whole thing. Oh my God, look what he's doing. Oh, that's so painful. No, it's not. And in the end, Randy Orton wins. The problem is you have Jeff Hardy week after week after week tapping out to the Hurt Lock. So Jeff Hardy's been on his big losing streak. The match was okay today, but it didn't progress anything for Randy Orton. No. And Jeff Hardy, it's making his character look worse.
And they missed. There was a few botches in that match too, which looked awful.
Yeah.
I mean, the actual match was not a good match. Go back and watch it. If you don't believe me, you'll see a lot of missed punches, a lot of missed spots. Like, they didn't care.
Yep. So there was 4 roll-up finishes, not in a row, because Randy and Jeff wasn't. But here's another roll-up finish. Because they're trying to give us the idea that Lince Dorado, is it Lince Dorado? No, Grand Metalik is having the match.
Grand Metalik.
Yeah, he's having a match with Santos Escobar. But to try to make us think that they have a shot, we have Lince Dorado and Grand Metalik beat Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexander tonight. And this time around, they tried to make the storyline where Cedric Alexander kept tagging himself in. Then you have the miscue. They've been set. We called this about a month ago. We said, you see that little seed that they're planting, that these two are not on the same page? Somebody's leaving the Hurt business soon. We don't know which one yet. But Lucha House Party get the roll-up win. Non-title. Yeah. So again, here's another champion. Oh, the roll-up. Okay. The other roll-up, which was 4 in a row. R-Truth rolling up Angel Garza. Because Angel Garza, he thought he was hitting on Torrie Wilson and Nikki Cross. And what did Torrie Wilson say? Who were the celebrities she said that she brought with her? Anybody remember the celebrities that Torrie Wilson said? So Angel Garza, like an idiot, thinks that these celebrities are in some room. He opens the door, and here's the boogeyman. and Angel Garza gets freaked out. He leaves and gets rolled up by R-Truth, and you see Torrie in the background and Nikki Cross. Who are the celebrities, everyone, that she said? I'm looking. Cardi B. Cardi B's going to be on Raw. Okay. She wouldn't even be on Thunderdome, Cardi B. Kylie Jenner and Ariana Grande. All right, so basically this was the Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote putting the bird seed. Like Angel Garza is going to be attracted to all three of those women. You know, so that, yeah.
He's looking for some WAP, DT.
Yeah. I thought he found his woman. I don't know. But anyway, so the Lucha House Party, they get a win. Then we get, after Angel Garza loses his 24/7 title, for some reason, Ron Simmons finds it, damn, like, he lost the 24/7 title. What was so freaky and out of place that Ron Simmons, like if he opened the door and I was naked out of the shower, I wouldn't blame him to be like,
I'm just,
damn, you know.
That's all he can do now. That's all he can do. Ron Simmons was never a wrestler. He was never a promo guy. He was never funny. All he could say is "damn." That's what the new generation remembers of Ron Simmons.
Main event, as we talked about already, Drew McIntyre beats Keith Lee. Fun match. Just again sloppy timing at the end. Goldberg's music hits. As we said earlier, just an asinine, dopey promo that made 0 sense. And, you know, Drew McIntyre is basically, his only response is pretty much like, you know, if I face you, it's like I face my father. And Goldberg shoves him down. And there's the confrontation. Goldberg issued the challenge for the Royal Rumble. Goldberg versus Drew McIntyre. So, you know he's going to accept. And Sheamus will probably be totally against it. This is and that, and something's going to happen. But that's how they went off the air. And the Legends, I didn't have much of a problem with because I knew how they were going to be utilized. You look at all the Legend specials, they're all usually utilized the same way. You have IRS hanging out with Molly Holly. Why? I mean, why? I mean, you're like, this is random people hanging out in the back, you know?
Maybe she hasn't paid her taxes, DT.
That could be. But I don't know, man. It's just, I don't know. It's nice to see some faces. Don't get me wrong. But when you look at all these match results, those match results is what matters at the end of the day because those wrestlers are the ones being built for the Royal Rumble. Not the Legends, but the wrestlers. And
it should, but it doesn't. It should, but it doesn't because we don't feel any closer to building up these guys to even be groomed for a possibility of WrestleMania. That's the problem. These matches are supposed to groom these guys to be viable contenders for the winner of the Royal Rumble, to go on to a main event match at WrestleMania. And right now, even the main event guys, even your main event Randy Orton, feel subpar. I don't see anybody really excelling on Raw. I just don't feel it. I'm sorry. And I know we've got, you know, it should be more, but we're not getting it, dude. Yeah. We're just not getting it.
I had to put seltzer on my ears. My ears are hot now from pulling them. You can see they're red as hell. But FT Gaggiano, what's up, my brother? He says WWE needs to bring back WWE Superstars show. Well, they have main event.
No.
But the problem is you look at the roster. The roster is so thin. If you take some of these wrestlers off, you're left with, well, you know what, FT? We could talk about this to close out the show because we're at a minute, an hour 20 and change. So we definitely want to close out the show with this. All right. Now, obviously, not every wrestler is on this list. For the most part, people like Becky Lynch and a couple others are off because of injury or, you know, being off TV for various reasons. Right. But when you see this paper, even whether you agree with the list or don't, you should take notice of how thin these rosters are. You take off of TV, the Dana Brooks, the Mandy Rose. You're going to get Charlotte versus said wrestler over and over and over and over. You remember how many times we had Asuka going at it with Bayley and Sasha Banks during the year? I mean, there was one point where there was 1 week she's wrestling one of them. Then the next week she was wrestling the other. Then the week after she was wrestling, I think, both. Then they did a pay-per-view where she not only wrestled her match, but she was a surprise wrestler, I think, against Bayley or Sasha Banks. I mean, it was just like every week, and it was fine, but the roster is so thin. And let's bring this up.
If we're going to talk about the potential of what WWE would do in that scenario of removing a lot of their lower tier stars, they're just going to put on more of the same stuff.
Yeah.
You're just going to get more Randy Orton segments. Or if Seth's back around, you're going to get more Seth segments. Or you're going to get more Miz segments. It's not like they're going to come up with more details and character, development or better matches. They're just going to give you more replays and longer commercial time. Like it's kind of like shooting themselves in the foot is what they're going to do.
Yeah. All right. Let me paint this picture before we look at this. We're only going to spend about 5 minutes on it. We're going to close out the show at 90 minutes. We wanted to really try to stick to that tonight. Carry over to Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We've got Patreon tomorrow. Hopefully all our patrons will be there. It's going to be a really, really fun show tomorrow. So, I'll be contacting everybody early on. So, all right, here's the deal. Ryan Satin, who now writes for Fox Sports or whatever part of Fox, he writes a lot of articles, does a lot of interviews. I don't have really a problem with him. I just don't understand the mindset of coming up with something like this. He comes up with this list. Now, just to clarify, and it's just our opinions, but he actually wrote, defending these lists, he actually wrote online, quote, "This is a kayfabe-based list, focusing on the level of importance that these superstars have on TV." He used the word kayfabe to regular wrestling fans that I thought was just dumb, to say it bluntly. Now, he does a report card scale. Basically, what he's trying to do is he's trying to rate these wrestlers currently on the roster of how they're being used. A+, I'll put the Raw one up right now. A+ means, in his eyes, they're the biggest stars in the company. This is the Raw one right now. A-list is main eventers, but not the biggest stars in the company. Now, I know right away a lot of you are going to say, wait a minute. You're going to put Asuka, one step below on that list. Then Alexa Bliss is a main eventer. All right. Then you go to B+, could be booked in main events. B, could be in contention for a mid-card title. C+, regularly on television. C, appearing sporadically on TV. D, falling out of interest of WWE. And F, chasing the 24/7 title. So he's got on this list by report card. Now, look, you look at the bottom of the list: Tozawa, Dabba-Kato, Eric, Lucha House Party, Humberto Carrillo, Titus O'Neil, Tucker. Okay? Yeah, they're not being used all that much, although the Lucha House Party I kind of differ with. But how do you think these wrestlers feel? That you're looking at, because don't care. Well, let me bring up SmackDown for a minute, because if you look at SmackDown's, Mickie James was very offended by this list. Mickie James joked about it on social media, but she was not happy about this list. And if you look at the SmackDown tier, he has Roman Reigns and Sasha Banks. Okay, I really don't disagree with that all that much. But Seth Rollins, for the most part, has been either off TV or his storyline has been Shangada, to say the least. And he's got them still rated as an A. Then you go down the list, it's like, what is the purpose of this list? If you're basically saying,
I'll tell you what this list is.
Okay.
This list is to use his journalistic credibility in order to make people that watch Fox understand or believe that Ryan Satin knows who the top tier guys in WWE are. Never mind the fact that this is very synonymous with who WWE believes are the top tier guys. This is not a personal list. And if it is, he's a cornball. But if it's not a personal list, then it's just there as a prop in order to get people that are watching caught up with WWE as to who's the top of the company right now. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
This list isn't for us. This list is not for me. It's not for you. It's not for the people sitting in the chat room. It's not for the people that download the show later. This list is not for us. This list is for the random casuals that are watching Fox and seeing Ryan Satin's list. It's not for us because that list is hokey garbage.
I honestly, he sure pushed it like it was meant for all of us because he wanted to spark conversation.
Of course he is.
I just thought this was so unnecessary. I mean, you know, if you're going to do like a top 10 ranking, top 20 ranking, like AEW does their top, WWE does the rankings, you know, who's ranked number 1, who's ranked number 10, that I could see. You know, if you're going to rank people in order. But to use a report card, anytime you're considered a D or an F, that's never good. And that's demoralizing, in my opinion. If some of those wrestlers that are not being used should be used, that's fine. But to make it come across that D or an F, to me, that's just a slap in the face for all of those wrestlers. I just felt it was totally unnecessary to do something like this.
I agree, dude. You think me, of all people, wants to see Mickey James rated as an F in anybody's eyes? But because it's coming from Ryan Satin, I know what it is. I know it's just a bullshit list in order to just something to throw out to the casuals. Yes, you're right. It's probably not very fair to the people at the bottom. I totally agree with you. But they don't care. WWE just wants people to buy more Roman Reigns merchandise, buy more Sasha Banks merchandise, buy more Bayley merchandise. That's all this is. When I'm looking at this, this is like a subliminal message to people that are interested. And now that we're coming around the Royal Rumble, it's hype time, DT, or it's supposed to be. It's fucking hype time. It's WrestleMania hype time. And they're not doing a very good job. So maybe
no, they're not.
Ryan Satin is trying to bring out the hype. Maybe this is Ryan Satin's new job. Maybe he's going to be WWE shill / hype man.
I hope not. Well, look, everyone, we're going to jet out of here because we pretty much covered everything that we needed to cover today. Before we go, just one thing, you know, because I always, you know, sometimes have to prove shit because I've been talking a little about the stuff that I used to do in the past with the wrestling stuff. And I had brought up that I worked doing Fat Frank's Jersey All Pro. He had the wrestling school, that the smaller promotion he had. And I had a few people that accused me of being full of shit and not managing people. So I want to thank someone who listens to the show, who sent me an email over the weekend and said, DT, I found this photo that I took of you at one of Fat Frank's shows. So there you go. I know not many people attended because that's what the school shows were, but that is yours truly when I was managing Grim Reaper for a short period of time for Jersey All Pro Wrestling. So I just figured I'd share it. I want to just thank John for sending me that photo. It's pretty cool, you know, to have people, you know, that listen to the shows and used to go to the shows that I never met, and sending me pictures of stuff that I did in the past. If anybody has any photos, email me, dontony@dontony.com. I'd trade you maybe a shirt or something for that. And yes, Mickey James is hot as... I didn't mail you the magazine yet. I completely forgot. After I took the picture, I put it back in the crate because I didn't want my fiance to see it, because she would have said, "What are you doing with this naked magazine?" Because I got...
Oh, you should have blamed it on Mitch.
She wouldn't believe that. She would have been like, well, "What are you doing with this?" You know,
She wouldn't believe it. It's the actual truth.
I know, but it's still. And then she's like, "Oh, you got 3 copies of it." For those that don't know, we'll leave you with this. 20 years ago, let's just say it, Mickie James posed in some adult magazines.
Oh,
there was an infamous magazine called Leg Show that she did a pictorial in that I had originally 20 years ago put it on my website, and we coined the phrase Mickey Meat Hooks, you know. But don't get us wrong, we were extremely attracted to Mickie James, always loved her in the ring and out. And we took the pictures down because it's not appropriate now. She's married, she's got kids, so we really don't want to bring that out there. But, I have a couple of these issues, never opened, sealed in the original packaging, and they got some pretty decent worth to them, especially that they're in mint condition. So, I was sending Mish one for the holidays. So he's not opening it, by the way. He's just going to put it as a little collectible. So
I absolutely will.
Yeah. And FT Gaggiano, he remembers Bret Hart being angry at being rated lower than Shawn Michaels in the 2K19 game. Yes, I do remember. Look, if it's like what Mish said, the list is not intended for us, even though Ryan Satin shoved it down wrestling fans' faces. Right. I just think if you're non-wrestler, I think you got to really be careful on this, because maybe the intentions are the right intentions, but you insult a lot of people along the way. And I tell you, of this list, the one thing that insults me the most is the fact that Oscar is not on the top tier. Oscar is the MVP of 2020, and the fact that you're already look at, this is the Raw. Look, you put Charlotte Flair at the top. Yes, I understand she's a champion right now, but Charlotte Flair just came back. So I think this was misguided. He should have done a ranking system. Who's hot, who's not. This person goes down on the list. Do something like that. He tried to do his own creation, and I think it failed miserably. My opinion. I say that respectfully.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, so that's pretty much it, everybody. So, Mish, pleasure as always.
Much love. I will see everybody tomorrow when they join us for Breakfast Soup on Patreon.
Yeah, we got an interesting show. A lot of unique topics to get into. But everyone out there, if you want to check it out, patreon.com/Don Tony. We'll be doing a show tomorrow. Kev Castle will be doing his solo show, Castle Chronicles, on Thursday. And if you can't tune in tomorrow, I will be here on Wednesday night after NXT and AEW. This week we got 2 big shows. AEW's New Year's Smash Night 1, and we have NXT's New Year's Evil. I did predictions on last Wednesday, so we'll definitely get into both of those shows. But everyone out there, live, download, archive, seriously, much love. Oh, and a few people are asking about this shirt. This is Escape from New York. If anybody remembers the movie Escape from New York. This is not John Morrison. So some people...
Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year, my friend. Take care. All right, everybody. Don't forget, Thursday night, you got Wrestling Soup. I believe they start now at, 7:30 p.m. Eastern? Could someone in the chat room clarify that? But, this is a little video montage that he did. Yeah, so that was when we were at Lucky 13 as well. So, but yeah, so if you're around this week, like I said, Patreon tomorrow night. And we start early tomorrow. We start at 8 p.m. Eastern. So early night. Now, again, Thursday, I will be here. Thursday, there's no format. Whatever you want to talk about, that's what I'm here for. Wrestling, whatever it is. We're still working on a name, but it looks like Thursdays will be 9 p.m. Eastern as a start time. We could always tweak that a little bit, but I'll give you more details Wednesday during Wednesday Night Dynamite, and I'll post some updates on YouTube as well. But I thank you always for the support. I love the freeze frames that Mish does. Believe it or not, I could do that too. If I do something like this. Wait. I got to do something like this. See? I still got to learn a lot over here, but Everyone, I thank you as always for the support. Much love. And as I say, as always, if you enjoyed tonight's show before you go, I appreciate it if you smash that like button. Let everyone know, that you enjoyed the show. If you disliked it, do that as well. Post comments of what we talked about tonight. And as I said, over the last 2 weeks, I've been interacting with everybody here, and that is my New Year's obligation, to be accessible here. And we're going to announce some upcoming things in the very near future. We got some things in development, and trust me, you'll definitely be looking forward to that. So anyway, I'm out of here, everyone. Much love as always, and I'll catch you all again either Patreon tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern or Wednesday for Wednesday Night Dynamite, 10:05 p.m. after AEW Dynamite and NXT New Year's Evil. And that tribute shirt for Brodie Lee that EC3 put out, I got tracking information. It's supposed to be delivered here tomorrow, that he sent it express mail. So I may actually have it in time for Wednesday. I will wear it, and I will wear it proud. So good night, everybody. Take care. Be well. Stay safe. Happy New Year. And I will talk to you later this week. Ciao, everybody. Oh, there we go.